Well, we spoke just now about the leak itself and how the media is covering it. They don't seem very interested in what got leaked. And what got leaked is incredibly disconcerting. In fact, it undermines what we've been told by the establishment in Washington, D.C., by the political class, and also by the permanent Pentagon war machine. So maybe that's why the media isn't really covering it, because, you know, this is a war they like or something. Let's bring in Jim Hanson here. He knows these things. He's a former special ops guy, and you're a critical observer of America's military, I think is fair to say. First of all, it is kind of weird that the actual contents of this, like if this were the Vietnam era, all we'd be talking about is what's in that leak, and we'd making the hero, the leaker a hero.
Yeah, well, it's two tiers of justice as usual, and in this case, it's also information that is incredibly damaging to Biden's narrative and the left's narrative that this is a good war. Oh, wait a minute. Is it a war? Joe Manchin let the cat out of the bag. He actually called it the most just war we've fought in a long time when he wasn't busy singing Take Me Home Country Roads with Brad Paisley in Ukraine.
In Ukraine, yeah, with President Zelensky. He's got a lot of time on his hands, that guy, for running a war.
Too much.
All right, so let's get to it. First of all, biggest takeaway. We have troops on the ground. I mean, anyone who watches this program knows, because you said that when we discussed the M1 Abrams tanks going over. They said there's no way we're giving them all these Abrams tanks without our personnel going there. So we are on the ground. But what are we doing there exactly? Are we engaged?
Well, I think the first thing is they're lying to us about what's going on. So let's start with
let's
Biden
not bury that
administration lies to the American public about the war, illegal war they're fighting in Ukraine. Now, what they're doing, those troops aren't actually involved in combat. Okay, I don't believe. Right now, what they're doing is they're advising.
Guys, right?
They're advising the Ukrainian troops. So I bet right now there are guys on ride-alongs who are going out and looking at stuff, talking about how to best use the air assets we're giving them, how to best employ the very complicated weaponry we're giving them. So I don't believe this thing. Oh, they're just in the embassy counting stuff in the basement to make sure nobody lost a few dollar bills of the 100 millions that they're siphoning off.
So you're telling me special ops guys don't like to hang out drinking lattes at the embassy very much? They get kind of itchy.
If they were doing that, they would be siphoning a few dollars themselves, I would hope.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
All right, so yeah, number one, they lied. They lied, the Pentagon lied, Biden administration lied. Also, Republicans in the House and Senate, who were all too supportive of this effort as well, they've been lying. Or they've looked the other way.
No, they're lying. Let's not even give them the benefit of the doubt, because they know they get classified briefings. What this was a briefing that everyone else has seen who's in the know at all.
Yeah.
And they all have gone on TV or talked to their constituents, whatever, and said, we're not doing any of these things. Now we know they and our allies are, and they're stopping any chance for peace out of this deranged hatred of Putin as a stand-in for Trump.
By the way, we're a few minutes into this, so I think I need to do the regular disclaimer. I'd love for Putin to get a bullet in the head. I don't want him there. I think he's an authoritarian dictator. I think that he's killing people unwanted. He has no business being in Ukraine. We can be critical of our role here and critical of how we're being lied to and be reluctant to commit U.S. troops there without actually being a puppet of Vladimir Putin, right? Let's just make sure we get that out there.
I think it's fair to say that if you're going to conduct an illegal war, I don't care who you're conducting it against. In this case, they're doing something that is contrary to the Constitution, contrary to what they're telling the American people. And now we hopefully, the one upside of this is maybe this will stop the money train that's driving into Zelensky's driveway and buying him and his oligarch buddies yachts.
Will it, though? Because, see, I'm cynical enough, and I think you may even be more cynical. The last time they pitched $100 billion for this war effort, it was because we're winning. We've got our boot on Vladimir's neck, and we're going to win. We're going to do this. Now, of course, the other revelation here is it's not going that well for the Ukrainians. So aren't they going to come right back and say, this is why we need another $100 billion?
That is perfect.
Because now we're losing.
That's our buddies over there doing what they do best. I think the problem is, first of all, you can't believe even the stats in that. The Russians lie, the Ukrainians lie, and we don't know what the true answer is.
Right.
But we do know it's not going as well as they've been telling us. And if they ask for more money, now that they've called it a war and we know they're lying to us, I think if the Republicans give them a dime, everyone who votes for that should get primary.
Well, absolutely, I agree with you, and I would be happy if they even had a clean vote on this thing, because every time we've committed any money to this effort, it's always wrapped up in like literally hurricane relief for Florida. If you were in Congress, you had to vote for Ukraine if you wanted to give hurricane relief to Florida. So, and as you said, Joe Manchin said this is such a just war. If it's such a just war, they should be eager to vote on it.
Let's have an AUMF. I mean, we don't declare war anymore, apparently. Okay, so yeah, let's have an authorization for the use of military force and go ahead and say, we're going to do this and let's commit. But the problem is they don't want to admit that because World War III is real. They want to do it by proxy. And right now they're using the Ukrainians as a proxy. Putin doesn't think this is, not a war. He knows it's a war and the U.S. is fighting him. He's just letting Ukrainians do the bleeding.
Yeah, there was also something in there, and again, I'm sorry if I'm throwing this at you because there was a lot of information, but there was something about missiles needed right now. They're about to lose. They're losing the air campaign in a huge way. They don't really have an air force of their own. The air dominance that Russia is just killing them. And by mid-May, basically, they're going to be sitting ducks. So is that the next step now? We need air support.
Well, here's the problem. Do we have any more missiles and precision guided stuff we can give them? We have raided our own troops supplies of everything we need in case there's a war. Maybe, I don't know, China, Taiwan, something else going on. And we don't have enough at this point to be able to send them more. I mean, they can't make those things in 5 minutes. This is not a situation where Raytheon's got factories running 24/7.
Well, if needed, they certainly could ramp up, I'm sure.
Yeah, they'd love to.
All right, so let's, I hate to dabble in sort of this kind of thing. And if you'd like to say, Larry, take off your tinfoil hat, go ahead. Are you buying this thing about a 21-year-old dude in the Air National Guard who happened to have access to all these items, who, by the way, fits perfect central casting of exactly what the left hates in our military, a white Christian conservative? Right. Are you buying this story that this is where it came from?
Instantly skeptical because they are lying about everything else, so why would this be the truth? Yeah. The problem is there at some point is a forensic back trail that the Republicans will have access to look and see.
Create something like that.
It's possible, but it's hard. Once you've got more than 3 people involved in a conspiracy like that, it's going to fall off the tracks. So I have a feeling that this kid probably did, and it's people say he shouldn't have had access to it.
Yeah.
Intel analysts have access to all kinds of stuff.
Even Air Force, though?
He's an Air Force intel guy. Yeah, I know. They're kind of a military service, sister service.
I'm only saying that because Army guys are like that with Air Force. I was just feeding into it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You tee him up, I'll smack him down.
So it isn't uncommon for the. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Bradley Manning was what, 19, I think, a private. We got Army, by the way.
Yeah, there you go.
Edward Snowden, a contractor. This actually opens up a larger question. Did too many people have access to this stuff?
It's an argument that goes on since the dawn of time because in order to be an analyst, you need access to information to analyze.
Yeah.
So you need to know the kind of things they're asking you to opine upon, and if you don't have that kind of information, your analysis is worthless.
And it's all digitized now, so it's a lot easier to capture it. It's not like you have to sit in a room and take pictures with
walk out with the cover
camera
sheets
that Vladimir gave you. Yeah, right. You actually have to. It's a lot easier, I guess. You just download it, send it to WikiLeaks. It's
well,
done.
they're supposed to have controls over that kind of stuff, though, because you should have no access to plug-in devices on TSSCI computers. So something went wrong someplace. This kid gamed the system, I think.
All right.
But he is a perfect patsy, and they're using him instead of what they actually should do is admit they lied.
One last thing here. Again, no one's talking about it. The non-Ukraine related stuff that was in here that basically showed that we're spying on everyone out there, especially our friends. Is that? I thought the grown-ups were in charge now, and that we had a great relationship overseas with our allies.
I love our allies and trust but verify.
So we should be spying on them.
If we're not spying on everybody, I'm a little chafed that the people we're paying all that money to aren't doing their jobs.
One last thing. I just mentioned it with Stephen Miller talking about the media aspect. The Biden administration now is saying this is why we need to monitor and control social media even more. We need to have better controls and better surveillance on what people are sharing in Discord chat rooms. I mean, talk about never letting a crisis go to waste.
Is there ever a thing that they won't use to try and build the Ministry of Truth and deploy their thought police to attack their political enemies? Dude, it's constant. Yeah. The answer to that is no.
No, thank you very much. That's Jim Hanson. Don't mess with Uncle Jimbo. You have a thing going with Kurt Schlichter, don't you?
Warlords, yeah.
The Warlords.
Maybe coming to someplace soon.
A brand new show. We got Kurt Schlichter on later. I doubt he'll plug it because he has like 10 other things to plug. There's more to come on O'Connor Tonight.